They'll beat Carolina 22-16. The Eagles have won 9 straight. Minnesota won its 6th in a row, 42-21 over Atlanta. 5 touchdown passes for Sam Darnold.
It's time. You know what time it is? Time. Game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And here we go, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. There's a lot of things that we're going to talk about. Certainly Alabama getting left out of the college football playoffs will be a topic of conversation. I've got my opinions. Now listen, many times you guys, I'm the therapist, okay? I have to, get that waterfall music, get the couch ready. But today I may have to ask you guys to provide some therapy because I'm a little bit, I'm a hot by a lot of different ways, okay? I mean, I got a lot of darts to throw. I'll start with I look at Greg Sankey. When you look at the criteria, has anybody heard from Greg Sankey? Has anybody got a statement from Greg? Greg, are you in hiding? Greg, you're needed on aisle 1. You were supposed to be the most powerful person in college football, and it's kind of like Kirby Smart taking a shot at him. A lot of people have taken a shot. He undressed him right there in a spotlight. There's a lot of people that are angry at Greg Sankey. For one, he lied to us a few weeks ago and said the officials were above average. Anyway, we won't talk about that. That's a topic for another day. But if you look at Greg Sankey, he's got a lot of egg on his face because he went along to not go with the best teams, but the most deserving teams, right? He went along with this, and he got burned. Now, I wonder how he's going to impact his future decision-making and the criteria that's based around that. I think that's one of the big topics that we'll dive into. When I look at Greg Sankey, we've got Josh from College Football Nerds is going to join us at 2:15. Josh has got some strong opinions, so you do not want to miss this. I also think that when I look at the committee, you must accept responsibility, okay? You went to Oklahoma and you dropped a game that you should not have lost. You played not up to the standard that Alabama is capable of playing. So you must put responsibility back on your own part. That's one and foremost, okay? That's number one, okay? You don't put it in the hands of the committee. You put it and you take control. You were given that opportunity to take control of it by other people's defaults. You didn't take advantage of it. You went to Norman, Oklahoma, and you played an awful, awful game. And we can complain about the officials, and we can look at that 7 points, and who knows if they would have got that touchdown 24-10. Definitely doesn't look like 24-3 because 24-3 looks like you didn't even show up. And really, that's probably the better indication. But that 7 points there, who knows? Maybe you made it 24-17. Maybe that's the difference in getting in and getting left out is that performance of that score difference between 24-3. Because if you look at it and you didn't watch the game and you look at 24-3, how many of those committee members know? I also want to talk about Brett McMurphy's tweet, okay? I have a problem with this. There's many times that we are told a lot of stuff. Now, listen. This is not a shot at Brett McMurphy, okay? He's got a job to do. He has a job to do. His job is to gather information, just like my job. I've been on the phone literally all morning trying to, work different angles to try to get information to provide you with a quality show. There's some things that I'm not able to tell you. I mean, I'm coming into the 2 o'clock show right now, and I'm saying I won't tell you everything I know. And I can't because I would not get any information for Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. But I can drip a little bit. And many times if you can read between the lines, you can walk out of here with some information. But you can't be, this casual listener where you're just listening and going, well, okay, I want to deliver it on a platter. Many times you have to kind of read between the lines, okay? But when I saw it 10:59, before the selection show started, I see Brett McMurphy put out the tweet that SMU is in and Alabama's out. Now, I'd like to go back. I'm a Heisman voter, okay? As homer as I am on this radio show, When I voted the Heisman, I signed a confidentiality agreement. I'm not able to tell Jackson across the glass who I voted for the Heisman Trophy. I vote as fair as I possibly can. I try to remove my blinders and not have either an Alabama bias or an SEC bias, because I see players in this league, and even though they know geographically in the South, you see they have, that's why I have it broken up in regions, right? They have this many votes coming from this area, this many votes coming from this area. I signed a confidentiality agreement. You can't tell me that committee did not have a confidential agreement. How did that get leaked out to Brett McMurphy? And if we can't trust you to protect that information, how do we protect you to have the integrity in that room? I put that on Twitter and I got blasted for it, and I don't even care. You can call me everything in the book. Matter of fact, I just tweeted a guy and said, I hope you have a great Monday afternoon. I think he called me a Bama female dog moron, something. I can't even remember. I don't care. That stuff. I don't know that guy. That guy ain't going to impact my day. I like to have fun with it. So I quoted him and said, have a great Monday afternoon. I have issues with that information being released, because if I can't trust you to protect that information for 20, 25 minutes, how can I protect you? How can I trust you in other areas? Vegas took Alabama completely off the board prior to the selection show. Don't tell me they didn't have the information too. Maybe that's where Brett McMurphy got it. So he got it directly or indirectly from a committee member. So I have an issue not with Brett McMurphy's tweet. I have no problem. I know a lot of people did. A lot of people said, oh, you destroyed the party. You ruined the showcase. I don't have a problem with Brett McMurphy reporting it. I have the problem is, how did he get that information from a committee member that we're supposed to be able to fully trust, right? We're supposed to walk in and you say, I trust these guys, but it's the system. It's not the committee members, right? You're asking people to go out and get a glass of Kool-Aid for your work and be in a high-stress situation. I think that should be a paid job, just like I think the officials should be more pay, where we can demand, put responsibility on the selection committee. I think Alabama should have been in the college football playoffs. I think they had a case. But I think when you look at Greg Sankey, I'd love to hear him explain this. How did you get fooled so bad? How did you get so much egg on your face? We'll talk to Josh from College Football Nerds coming up in a couple of minutes. Tuscaloosa Toyota powers the program. TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Toyotathon is on right now. How about a Tundra? How about a Tacoma? 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive? How about some great interest specials? You can find that at Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. And we are powered by those guys every single day. Every Monday, we are powered by DanielMooreArt.com. It's Christmas time. You're looking for that special Alabama fan in your life, DanielMooreArt.com. And we may do some good moments of the weekend, and we'll have some fun with it here on Monday. DanielMooreArt.com, DanielMooreArt.com. Celebrate those special Alabama fans in your life this Christmas holiday season. So I can't wait to hear you. Can't wait to listen to you. I was on the Kalen DeBoer call last night around 8 o'clock. Thought he gave some really good information. I thought he gave some hints to some areas that you need to pay attention to, and we can kind of discuss it together, and we'll play some of the audio as we travel throughout the afternoon. We're going to do that coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We'll get your calls at 205-342-9904. We'll take your tweets at Ryan C. Fowler. Feel free to tag the station, that Tide 109, Tide 109, and where we both can see it, we can interact. So we're going to have some fun. But your big reaction to Alabama being left out of the college football playoffs, and then we'll get into some other things this week. I got a pretty busy lineup for you. Josh from College Football Nerds. Nobody, in my opinion, understands it to the way that he understands. There's other people that are equal to, but nobody's better than him of understanding these metrics. We'll ask him to dive into the conversation around Alabama. What was the case? And what did he have the biggest problem with? First question I came out of the gate with, Alabama, it's Alabama's fault that you're left out of the college football playoffs. You didn't take care of business when it was right there. Now, do you have an argument? Yes, you do. You do have that argument. But you must place blame on yourself. We must accept responsibility of the way you played in Norman, Oklahoma. There's a penalty for playing poorly. The penalty is that you're not a part of the 12-team playoff, and you put it in the hands of a committee. We knew that they couldn't be trusted going in, but you put it in the hands of the committee anyway. So we have to take responsibility for that. Jackson, jump in, and then we'll go to Josh from College Football Nerds. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Ryan. Well, it goes back to the question you kept asking me on Friday, which was, why aren't we playing in Atlanta tomorrow? And it's exactly what you just covered right there and touched on there. You got to take care of business when it's right there in front of you.
It was there. And to see that team play so uninspired.
Yep.
When you had an SEC title and all that let all the naysayers know.
You didn't let anybody know.
You could have been in Atlanta playing for the SEC title. You could have been playing for what would have been, I guess at that point, an automatic. We were all talking about the possibility of losing. Maybe you don't have to worry about that. You go to Atlanta, but you did not. You did not take care of business, and there's repercussions for that. And the repercussion is that you got left out of the college football playoffs. And now we talk about rebuilding. We could talk about Michigan. And I have some interest in this game.
Slap in the face.
I have some interest in this game, but not as much. I can't even blame the Citrus Bowl for going South Carolina, even though that's a smaller brand. I look at from a Michigan-Alabama standpoint. I mean, I guess on a scale of 0 to 10, it's about a 5.
I could buy all those. I cannot buy SMU specifically. And so that's my big problem, Ryan, is that this whole thing was just a feckless argument of, we can't punish them for being in a conference championship game. And the committee completely unwilling to look at the actual schedule and resume of that team and acknowledge that SMU has not shown any ability to actually beat a top 15 team. And the only 2 times they played good teams, they lost. It's a political committee. I know you and I have been on the same page that this committee does not have people that know college football on it. Maybe it needs to be a paid committee, as you've suggested. But this was the obvious result from a committee that's had terrible rankings all year long.
And I don't like setting ADs. I never have, even when Alabama's got the favorable decision. I think it's not the people, it's the system. It's kind of like the players in the NIL and the transfer portal. It's not the players. It's the system that has allowed this to happen. And we're asking now the bureaucrats that made these poor decisions to now play an important role in the selection process. I also think that Greg Sankey has some of this blame because he went along with these college football playoffs, and now he's got egg on his face. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I think so. I think they were all sold on the idea that strength of schedule, which I think is the number 2 criteria for the playoff committee, would be enough to justify this collection of teams. And the idea with conference expansion was, our strength of schedule, our resumes are going to be so good they can't help but include us. And then the way the committee went was the complete opposite direction. I mean, with very few exceptions, they ranked fewest losses over most losses, period. And everybody that's now cheering on Twitter or Reddit or what have you, or all the casual college football fans of teams that haven't been very good, saying, aha, we're finally in. See, this is what it should have always been. And, I think Sankey was proven wrong for having faith in the committee in this structure. But I will say, Ryan, the Big Ten and the SEC have been meeting, as you're aware, and I'm sure you can probably confirm this from your own sources, they've been meeting for over a year to talk about changes to the playoff structure 2026 and beyond. I think they knew kind of how this had shifted and where it was going. And I fully expect them to move to a format that is going to be a guaranteed number of slots, which I think is better in a lot of ways. Right? That, if the SEC or the Big Ten, I think they may well get rid of the conference championship game, especially after Carson Beck got injured for Georgia and really may hurt them in the playoffs. And they may just move to a structure to say, look, if you can be the top 4 teams in the SEC, you get in the playoff, and the playoff is our championship game, whoever wins that. But it's going to be a race to be one of the top X number of teams in each conference, and they're just going to let the other conferences play for the other 4 slots, which, quite frankly, in my view, is very reasonable given how much better the Big Ten and SEC is than the rest of the field. So I think it's their fault for sort of setting this structure up. I think they're aware of it. And, Ryan, still got to put way more blame on the Big Ten because they were part of that alliance back in the day, remember, with the ACC.
They were.
Where that demanded this current structure with the auto bids, and they didn't want to exclude. And they're the ones that really forced the issue on this. And now they happen to benefit this year They probably won't in the future. And they've created a structure where if you have a bunch of good teams that happen not to play to each other, which is what happened in the Big Ten this year by chance, because they didn't know Indiana was going to be good and Michigan and Washington were going to be terrible, then you can get a bunch of good teams in, right? But if you're the SEC where Georgia has to play Alabama and Georgia has to play Ole Miss and Georgia has to play Tennessee, they can't all win those games. Somebody has to lose every time, and that means you tack up losses and you get put to the bottom of the pile, no matter how good you are, just because your schedule's harder, just because your good teams play each other. And again, I remind you, SMU did not play any of the good teams in the ACC. The best teams were Miami, Clemson, SMU, Georgia Tech, Syracuse. They did not play any of the other three in the regular season. And the whole format really benefited them. So, you got to blame Sankey, I think, for not seeing it coming and probably doing more to step up to the plate to demand fairness as this went along. I think you got to really ding Sankey for not pushing more SEC members in the committee, because the ACC is quietly much better represented on the committee. I'm
glad you said that, because I felt like an idiot, but I went through the committee. How many ties can you have on one committee to one conference? I mean, Alabama has a former player there, but he recuses himself for Oregon State. He didn't recuse himself for Alabama.
Right.
So, but you have a sitting AD from Arkansas. Other than that, I mean, you have a lot of ACC. I think I counted 4 that have direct ties to the ACC. So you have a financial gain. That is the system. It's like asking me to vote for a radio station in Birmingham as far as the best sports station. It doesn't work like that, especially with money as tight as it is in the world of college athletics. And my soapbox is this. Brett McMurphy broke the story before the selection show ever started. Somebody violated the integrity and the confidentiality. So if I can't trust you with that, how am I supposed to trust you in a room? I had my biggest, not with Brett McMurphy reporting it, I had my problem with whoever leaked that.
Well, to be completely blunt, when you look at the makeup of this committee, there are a large number of members in this committee that are known to be, for lack of a better word, politically active within the athletic space. And I don't mean that in terms of national politics, but in terms of sort of school versus school, conference versus conference politics. Involved with the media. Ward Manuel is a notoriously divisive figure. Even within the Michigan fan base, there are a large number of Michigan fans that do not like him. I've known very high-profile Michigan people and boosters and alums that do not like him and do not trust him. He was the AD for Michigan when they were in the cheating scandal and did everything he could to obstruct it for a while. A lot of the reporters currently on the committee have no experience in college sports, or at least minimal experience. They are not college sports writers even. And a lot of the like you said, sitting ADs is a problem. But then even when you get to the retired coaches, there are a lot of retired coaches. Like you mentioned, you get a former Bama player who was at Oregon State. There's some kind of tricky history there with him in Alabama, right? And whether Alabama was going to hire him, not hire him, whether they were interested in him. And so this wasn't what they had when they first started, which was sort of a Hall of Fame list of coaches and administrators and retired coaches that had great perspective. No one's Nick Saban, but Nick Saban type people, right? That everybody in the sport really respected. There are a lot of people on that list that people do not respect. And, I'm not shocked to see them kowtow to a very politically correct decision within the sports world that, quite frankly, like you're mentioning with McMurphy, I cannot help but feel like they were heavily influenced by whatever the media narrative was of the night.
Great point.
That SMU, they lost this close game, and how could we punish them for this emotional game? Like, you mean the game where they were down 24-7 in the first quarter, never led, managed to tie after Clemson's starting 2 running backs got injured? They couldn't run the ball out, couldn't run the clock out on the game, and the run game died because of injuries. And then they lost at the last second on a field goal anyway? Like, that's your emotional game? And by the way, that's still the best opponent that SMU faced, and they lost? It was such a knee-jerk reaction by the committee, I think informed by a lot of media members that, let's be honest, there are a lot of media members that do not like Alabama And, I know one, that I know a handful that actively, I know for a fact they do not like Alabama. And they overreacted. But again, I think the Alabama thing and the Alabama bias, the Alabama hate is really a smokescreen for what was a general failure across the board. I think the ranking of Penn State as high as they did was wrong. Texas losing to Georgia twice isn't just that they lost to Georgia twice. It's that they didn't beat anybody. They won a fairly close game over Texas A&M. They blew out Florida. And for the most part, they look lackluster the rest of the year. They beat Arkansas by 10. They beat Vandy by a score. Everybody overlooks the fact that Texas barely beat Vandy themselves. What did they do to deserve to stay as high in the rankings as they did relative to somebody like Tennessee that actually went out and beat some people? I don't know. And so, the whole thing is frustrating. The setup was always going to make me frustrated, but I do feel like we got almost the worst possible result from a feckless committee in the first year of this expanded playoff.
And you almost wonder how that will impact the off-season discussions, because the other big topic is, will you see a separation? Because there's been a talk of separation. In other words, separating. And I get right now, Auburn, you've lost 28 games in 4 years. Sit down, shut up, okay? LSU, you got a mud hole stomped in you in Baton Rouge. Sit down, shut up. You look at the SEC from a standpoint, it's almost like, what does need to happen? Do you, and maybe that's where the automatic, okay, you get 4 seats regardless. Maybe that's where this comes in. Maybe that's where Greg Sankey is able to say, no, I believe in this conference. I mean, he said the right things, but his actions are not speaking, or at least maybe he thought he was going to get a different result. But maybe that's where this all sets up. Josh, I'm going to get you out of here, but on a 0 to 10 scale of Alabama and Michigan, 0 to 10, give me your excitement level for this game.
Excitement level? 4.
Okay. Yeah, I was 5. So yeah, you and I are close. Yeah, I almost look at bowl games, and I want to respect players who want to play. And I don't even know if you have the depth to survive this, but this is about the future. You use this as an additional spring practice, even though it's prior to. You need to find out going into this portal period through practice, see where you have needs. I mean, this is about 2025, and I don't know if coaches look at it the same way, but that would be my opinion. Do you see it any different?
No, I agree. And the problem, though, is because it's about the future, it ends up being almost like a glorified spring game exhibition. I'll be honest with you, Ryan. If I knew Alabama was going to play the full starting roster at Michigan, I'd be somewhat concerned, because Michigan's defense checks all the boxes that the great defenses Alabama lost to check. Right? The ability to stop the run, high-level corner play. Alabama, time and time again this year, when they played defenses that could really stop the run and Jalen Milroe had to play from the pocket, they completely fell flat on their face. And Michigan maybe has the best interior defensive line in the country, arguably, when healthy. The trick is Will Johnson at corner, who's probably going to be a first-round draft pick, is hurt and isn't going to play. I fully expect probably those big interior defensive linemen that are draft eligible at Michigan, they're not going to play. And so what we're going to get is a really hamstrung version of that game. And it may well be that some players like Jalen Milroe decide to opt out as well. I don't know. It's probably going to depend on draft grades and that kind of thing. I'll just throw this out there. I don't think his draft grade is going to be nearly as high as a lot of the media are putting it up to be. I think he's more a 3rd to 5th round guy personally, but, we'll see. If all that comes to pass, then you're going to have a Michigan team that already doesn't have an offense, and now they're not going to have a defense either. And you're probably going to have an Alabama team missing a lot of crucial components. And let's not forget, even going into the playoff, I will end with this, Ryan. The truth is I was not going to predict Alabama to beat Penn State, because I think everybody's glossing over. They lost Deontay Lawson. They lost Q Robinson. They have high-impact starters injured at every level of that defense, and an offense that has flailed against top defenses like Penn State all year. And so even if Alabama doesn't have players opt out, I think people have forgotten that they're still going to be quite banged up, and certainly banged up guys are not going to play in this bowl game. So, I think it'll be interesting to watch for the future. Given that it's 2-story programs, that's the only reason to me it rates as a 4. in terms of what it is to this year, I don't think the game's going to be relevant to anything.
Well, I even take this comment. We can add this to it. Josh, let me squeeze in one more quick question. Kalen DeBoer was talking about wide receivers last night on the Zoom call, and he said he appreciates the unselfishness of Alabama receivers. I've got the audio. Jackson, I just sent it over to you as far as the wide receivers. And he says, I quote, I think they're aware that's just our style this year. It was all about whatever it took to win, end quote. That's Kalen DeBoer. What do you read into that? And then I'll let you get out of here.
Well, I think it's a very frank statement at some level. And I don't think there's any way to take it other than at least they were not spreading the ball around as much as they would have liked. There were games, was it the Tennessee game, where they targeted Ryan Williams like 15 times, something like that? That's not DeBoer's offense. That is not really healthy for any offense because you tell the other team, yes, you can double team this guy and it's fine. This offense is designed to be a read-based, check-based offense. It is designed to make the defense respect every portion of the field. And when you do that, then you allow somebody like Ryan Williams to make impact plays because it's really clear if he's left one-on-one downfield, he's probably going to win. This offense was not able to do that. And now we can talk about whether it was time to implement the scheme. We can talk about whether it was offensive line play and tackle play. We can certainly talk about whether it was quarterback play. But they weren't able to do that. And because of that, I think there were some good Alabama wide receivers, third, fourth, fifth wide receivers in that rotation that did not get any significant amount of targets relative to how good they actually were. And, you know, people are going to gloss it over, Ryan, but it's not a coincidence that Kendrick Law and Caleb Odom are transferring, I think. At some level, those were guys that they never figured out how to feature. I think they're both very talented players. Look, there are probably reasons they weren't used the way they were, but if those guys had been utilized and they were happy with the program, they wouldn't be leaving. That Oklahoma game, I went back and watched tape, and immediately before that Ryan Williams play that was called back on a penalty, the prior snap on third down, Jalen Milroe is scanning the field, and Caleb Odom is streaking down the seam. Same thing that had happened in the Tennessee game, wide open, waving his hands. Jalen Milroe didn't see him and threw the ball. Just like the Tennessee game, he threw it over the running back's head, and that game he threw it away. And you can watch Odom jumping up and down in frustration in the end zone in that Oklahoma game. And again, that was third down, and that led to the fourth down Ryan Williams play called back by penalty. So those little things have to have an effect on the receiving corps. I think you're seeing transfers as a reason for it. And I think that has got to be DeBoer's way of saying this is not the way we want to play football. I appreciate the receivers that had the patience to understand why we played it the way we did and the limitations we were under, whatever they were. But I think going forward, you're going to see the football spread around a heck of a lot more than you did this past year.
Josh, College Football Nerds, him and Daniel just put up a great video on the YouTube channel. You can find it right there as they break down, and they'll share more analytics into the College Football Selection Committee. Hey, Josh, I appreciate you jumping on Tuesday instead of on a Monday. See, I'm confused. Even Monday, I guess I need to be on the committee since I'm so confused. But Monday instead of the Wednesday. Josh from College Football Nerds. Connect with him on CFB Nerds on the X account. Find him on YouTube. Do a search for College Football Nerds. CollegeFootballNerds.com. If you want to look at any of the matchups, you can do that on the website. You can different models there. CollegeFootballNerds.com. Josh, I appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Thank you. Great analysis. Now I'm ticked off, Jackson. I wasn't really that mad. I was mad, but now I'm at a 10 out of 10 because he pointed out some stuff that really is just a reminder. I have been. He said it's a smoke screen. I have been focused on SMU, Alabama.
Well, I think going back, I think it's punishment for last year. I really do. I think it's because they left Florida State out, and again, it was between us and
I think
ACC
they saw
school.
the backlash.
Yep.
Throughout the week,
yep,
following Tuesday, and now that came back to kind of bit them. And I think when they explained what they did on the television side of things with Ward Emanuel, I think he wanted to go back and almost retract that. It's like you say something and you almost wish you have that filter. He didn't have that filter. I've listened to him. I've told you guys, I listen to the teleconference every week. I listen to it. I've asked questions in that teleconference. And sometimes I walk into that teleconference and I leave more confused than what I did. Let's get to break. Rumsey Environmental, you can take the trash out. Rumsey Environmental, a waste removal service here in West Alabama, 205-248-0002. They're number one and the number two business. Portable toilet service, construction debris removal containers, waste containers. Highlight the committee, and we'll do this every break. I want to highlight the lady that is on the committee. She is covers college football, but her specialty is covering the Olympics. Did you know that she's covered 7 Olympics? She's also a specialty in World Cup soccer. So really.
So she knows everything about football.
I would imagine so. I mean, so I'm not questioning. I'm reading off.
She must be an SEC homer.
I'm reading off the resume, but she worked at USA Today and she covered World Cup soccer and 7 Olympics. So great. Like I said, I know she's really done a really good job. When Arch Manning walked away from the committee when it was first initiated, told me everything I needed to know about the committee. He never even made it to the first committee meeting. I think he smelled a rat and said, I'm out. All right, it's Arch Manning. So we'll highlight these wonderful committee members as we travel throughout the afternoon. You may not like it. That's okay. I'm here to please some, but not all. Paul in Lincoln. Ooh. All right. How about Robert in Mobile? Jackson, you better check that. Sounds like we've had a little bit of a see if our phones are up, down, maybe melting down, throw down. Sometimes when we get so many calls that it'll trigger the system there. All right, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. So I think we did we literally just melt down the entire system here? 205-342-9904. There you go. And now they're all back. Sometimes when you receive so many calls, and I'm sure everybody's trying to get in, we'll get to those calls coming up here in just a couple of seconds. Paul and Lincoln, we wanted you to be the first one up. We were waiting for your phone call, but let's continue. Let's go to Mary in Atlanta. Mary, good afternoon. You're in the game. You lead us out.
Ryan, it's been a rough weekend, man.
I can imagine. So
yeah. I will admit, I did pretty good yesterday at church. I mean, it felt good to kind of have my voice back.
Did you cheat? Did you cheat at church? Or did your preacher announce? No.
I will admit, as soon as preacher said you are dismissed, I looked at my phone. I was good. I kept my eyes closed during prayer. I was good. Okay, I was good. I didn't cheat.
All right. All right. Well, good.
But when I say that I was good, it's just I got a couple buddies at church. They're Georgia fans. They tried to nitpick at me a little bit, and I was like, I saw my finger up, and I was like, don't you say a word right now. You wait till after church, and then we'll talk about it. I was real good. I didn't say nothing. I was good. Whenever we did talk about it, I still kept my cool and maintained. But I got to admit, it was a little hurtful to see that they got us out. I mean, it's not what I expected, to be honest with you. Not what I expected at all.
All right, so let me ask you your biggest problem. What is your biggest problem with this? Obviously, getting Alabama left out. But other than that, my biggest soapbox is I have problems. If I can't trust you to protect a confidentiality, then how am I supposed to? I wrote that out, put it on Twitter, put it on X, got heat for it. I didn't lose an ounce of sleep. Based on, somebody in whatever state or another fan base. It didn't bother me, but I have problems with that. I think that's a violation of your integrity. And I
feel like there's several things that the committee didn't take into consideration. And it was literally just like I said, I think it was Friday. Yeah, Friday. There were several teams that, just like what I thought, they got considered over us. And I was like, really? SMU, really? Just like what Josh from College Football Nerds was saying, I love when he breaks stuff down. And I can actually understand. But there's so much that I don't understand about all this. And I really was confident that we could make it. And when I saw the last rankings before the final ones came out Sunday, I started strategizing a path for us to even make it to the national championship, to be honest with you. I did. Now, so I'm like, okay, I can throw all that out the window. My confidence is shot now. But do I still believe that we are the best program in college football?
Do you really think that 13 members could be impacted by people on social networks, people on sports talk radio, that TV
Not
talking heads? Because
not all of them, I think.
But it doesn't take many.
It doesn't.
It just takes the strongest. It takes the strongest voice in that room to believe that somebody got shafted. And who knows? It could have been the guy that was absent last week that was here this week.
Yeah. And you said there's, about 12 or 13 members on the committee?
No, there's 13 members, and they do have a recusal process. And we're going to highlight these college football, because if you're willing to be on the committee, there's a scrutiny that comes with this. And I think last year there was also committee members that probably took a little bit of a backlash, for leaving Florida State out. I think that was probably some of it. But I'll be honest, when you look at this committee, there's guys like Jim Grove, who has been a former coach, but where's his ties are at ACC? Gary Pinkel has coached in the SEC, but I think his recusal is Missouri. I think it is. But you go through, it's almost disappointing when you look at, a couple of years ago they had a volleyball coach on there. Maybe I'm wrong, but
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not made up of all stars. I mean, it's made up of who is willing to select. But I mean, here's another lady, Carla Williams. She's a 7th-year athletic director at University of Virginia. During her time at Charlottesville, the Cavaliers have captured multiple national titles, including numerous sports, including basketball in 2019, men's lacrosse, women's swimming and diving, and men's tennis under her leadership. UVA has won 17 ACC championships. So, hey, listen, great. I mean, we're super. She is a former women's basketball player at UGA. So we will definitely, we want to highlight her breaking down skills. So, she served as assistant UGA director of compliance a year before taking the job at Florida State. So, I said, and it's, listen, I know we've highlighted 2 of the candidates, but I mean, I saw one of his credentials was he owned a gym in Kansas City. I mean, this is straight from their website. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is straight from the website. I mean, you look at it and you're going, really?
Right. Yeah, that totally qualifies you. Sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to nominate, I want to put Bama Nick on the committee.
Okay. That would be fair. I mean, hey, Bama Nick could really give him what for.
Well, I mean, he couldn't have done any worse. I mean, so
right.
I mean, I'm not sure he could have done any better, but he probably couldn't have done any worse. So, all right, Barry, thank you so much. I hope
God don't care. And when he said that other night, God opened the door for us. So God, let me put this war in Israel to the side and the hunger that's going on and the disease to the side. I want to give them SMU so Dabo can get into the playoffs. I mean, come on, man. That was sick. And the last thing I want to say is, I told my little girl this morning when she went to school, I said, look,
I got to run, Keith. I'm really at 35. If you can speed it up, I'd love to hear it. But if you don't mind, I mean, really.
Hey, I told her, I said, what you say, when a Barner's down, kick them. The last time they've had a 10-4 season was 2013. Let that sink in, Barney. You want to put that on your scoreboard in your basketball arena. Remember 2013 and Fear the Sun. Roll Tide, Ryan.
Thank you, Keith and Helena. Thank you. Absolutely. Let's continue with talking to the game. We're talking about the DEI college football playoffs, making sure that everybody has a seat at the table. And, hey, we're going to talk about it. Let's go to Barrett Sallee. It is Outkick. He's a columnist there. He's a guy that covers college football smothered and covered. He's on Sirius XM Channel 84. Barrett, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. Hope all is well.
The DEI playoff. That's good. I like that one. That's good.
I mean, do you agree with me or disagree with me?
Well, I don't think it's everyone included. Yes, I think if you're going to talk about the ones that should probably be left out, it might be Indiana or Boise State or Arizona State. But yeah, I mean, this is all about granting access over rewarding excellence. And you know how I feel about the BCS, Ryan. This is a perfect year for the BCS. Oregon versus Georgia. Tee it up.
Oh, God. Oh,
you know? That's it.
That's it.
That's all we need.
That is it. But I don't know if those two will be still standing. I mean, I look at Georgia.
They have the hard. That's the thing, is they have the hardest path of any of the 4 teams with byes.
How much, Barrett, you cover college football from a national perspective. How much does this reflect Greg Sankey's and maybe his positioning with this college football committee? Not the committee, but the college football expansion.
I don't think it really does all that much. It's the SEC expanded, the Big Ten expanded, the ACC, like everybody expanded, right? Everybody expanded, right? So is this going to be a situation where the SEC beats itself up? Yeah, some years. Is it going to be that case for the Big Ten? Yeah, some years. And that's just the way things are. And I think anybody who watched SEC football this year knows that everybody's got flaws. Everybody's got warts. And some are bigger than others and harder to overcome than others. That's not Greg Sankey's fault. That's just the way things operated this year. So I don't think it's an SEC thing. I don't think it's really anything other than, it's just one of those years that the SEC is not as powerful as it has been in years past. And, that ebbs and flows.
All right, but you do look at it. He went along, right, in what was it? He wanted the best teams. Did he not? That's where he went, because he wanted 8 of the best teams. Did he not?
He did, but, come on. He knows exactly what that is, right? Like that's what he said. He understands that there's absolutely no way that he would get that. To me, and looking at that, to me, that is more of a negotiating tactic for the next time. Not this one that expanded. I think it's the next one where he knows that he's going to push for automatic bids, a specific number of them for his conference. I think when you looked at how you would operate at 12, how many auto bids there would need to be, nobody would go along with it unless there were available spots for whoever at large. We have that now. I don't think he ever thought it would be different. I just think that a lot of what he does is plays 3D chess, and down the road will what he pushes for pay off? Maybe, but I don't think that anybody had any realistic expectations that we would ever get the top 6, the top 8, the top 12, plain and simple. There's just no way that anybody would go along with that.
When you look at the case, though, how did you think Kirby Smart taking a shot right at Greg Sankey's face? Obviously Greg didn't like that, but I applaud for Kirby Smart for not giving coach talk. That he said what was on his mind.
Well, he did, and I guarantee you that conversation's happened behind the scenes, and it probably was a little bit more stern than that too. But no, I think it's Kirby has every right to be mad. And he got dealt a horrible hand in terms of the schedule. And was that on purpose? I think you look back at some ways the SEC maneuvers itself in terms of creating compelling content on a week-to-week basis. Yeah, I think they purposely gave Georgia a harder schedule than most. And Georgia's credit, they navigated it. I think Georgia knows that that's what happened. And Kirby has every right to be mad. And then looking forward to next year, you've got the same opponents, just flip-flopped home and away. So I think that's probably Kirby saying, hey, look, man, when we solidify a long-term schedule, let's give us a little break right out of the gate, which, I know Greg expected that, expected Kirby to be angry, and maybe expected a reference to it. I don't think he expected a direct shot right across the bow.
So you do think about Greg Sankey, though. He's managed to be able to tick off a lot of fan bases. And I think the gaslighting he did a couple of weeks ago on the SEC network, talking about how he thought the officials in this league were above average was another kind of shot at the SEC fans. Greg's I'm not saying he's on a slippery slope. He's probably one of the most powerful people in college football, but he won't get too many Christmas cards from many fan bases.
No, he won't.
Vanderbilt, maybe. Yeah, Vanderbilt.
Well, Oh, he's got the thing about that though. He's got to defend his officials. I mean, that's just, and honestly, they are better than most other conferences, which isn't exactly a high bar. But I think he's going to have to defend his officials because they're part of this whole thing too, right? We can sit here and say, yeah, he's got 16 member institutions. Well, yeah, he's also got a conference to run, and he's got his own set of officials, so he has to defend them. I think like he would any other team in this conference.
But I want to go back to what you said just a couple of minutes ago when you talk about shaping the next future discussion for 2026. Do you think this shapes it? I mean, do you think he's not as willing to go to be a part of the Cool Kids Club? Or do you think he puts his feet down in the sand? Can he?
Oh, I think the plan that Ross Dellinger reported last offseason with 4 auto bids for Big Ten, for SEC, and then 3 for the other 2, and then some at-large, like all that stuff. I think that's going to be the case. I think right now, it's clear that the SEC did not expect to only get 3. And, I think this will only expedite that process. I mean, obviously we expected it year after next anyway, but this is going to put some urgency to it and solidify, and for not just Greg, but also the Big Ten and Tony Petitti to say, hey, look, that plan, that's happening. Because I think everybody sort of expected 4 or perhaps even 5 SEC teams, and Greg's angry about it. And again, that means you're going to get some pretty average SEC teams with chances to win national championships, which, access is why this whole thing got expanded to begin with, and rewarding excellence has been out the door for a very long time.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you certainly spend a lot of time thinking about. Barrett, who do you like to win the national title? I mean, who is this when you look at this pathway in this college football bracket?
I cannot settle on a team yet. I'm thinking Oregon. I think they'll play Notre Dame. I have moments where I think Georgia, even without Carson Beck. So I haven't settled it yet, but right now I'm guessing Oregon over Notre Dame.
See, Notre Dame kind of backs up a hypothetical. Maybe that is the best way to the pathway to forget about the 4 buys. I'm not competing for that. Let me go out and schedule my own teams and go independent.
Well, the best chances to win the playoff right now are 5, 6, 7.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's why, Notre Dame, when folks said, oh, my God, Notre Dame can't get a home game. I'm like, they get the 5th seed if they're halfway decent. That's great. Awesome.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, you do. I mean, look at Notre Dame's path. You got Indiana, should be a win, right?
Yeah.
Then you got Georgia, that is a beat-up Georgia football team that just came through the SEC and had to play in the SEC title game. And then if you win that, you're probably going to get Boise State or, Penn State. No, yeah. I mean, great point with Notre Dame. I mean, it's the pathway.
It is. And same with Texas. I mean, Texas's path is way easier than Georgia's and Oregon's.
Do we all cater to Texas? Is it just because they got so much money? I mean, because it's
No, I just think they were a little bit worse than Georgia this year, and by luck of the draw, they got hooked up.
Good point. Barrett, are we seeing the dying days of the conference championship? I mean, is this thing on its last leg? I mean, do you see it going away? How do you see it?
They're too lucrative. They're so important from a financial standpoint. So I don't think we will. I think there might be some caveat in there where you have some sort of incentive to play, right? And I think Rhett Lashley put it perfectly. He said, look, if we don't get in, then I could have just said my whole team got COVID and skipped the ACC championship game and gotten in anyway, right? So you have to avoid situations like that. And do you have a guarantee that both participants get into a playoff? Because you're going to put automatic bids anyway. Let's just say the Big Ten and the SEC get at least 4. Do they say, okay, both participants are in regardless? That would incentivize people, I don't know. I don't know what else you could do, honestly.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine the off season? The content gods just keep giving. They keep giving.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is.
I'll go back and tell you. I mean, you're in Tuscaloosa, I get that, but this is how messed up the situation is, right? This is how messed up the situation is. You look at Alabama's conference record, 5-3, and we're talking about teams that could have a 5-3 conference record and still win a national championship. We are so far away from the days of the BCS. I mean, we are so deep into the access over excellence part of this.
But, okay, and I just told the audience a couple of minutes ago, so one of the questions come up, why do we not still have the BCS? I said, because it can't be manipulated. I mean, it's you plug it in, and we always blame the computers. The bad computers. Well, who drew the algorithm? Who made up the algorithm?
Exactly.
But you couldn't influence the BCS as much as you could a committee.
Yeah, you couldn't. And, I mean, the BCS is fine. And the format, I love the format and the methodology. But, I mean, the methodology, man, like, let's just say you have to have this committee. Do 50-50. 50% committee, 50% computers. You're probably going to be just about there anyway. And the, BCS know-how on Twitter basically puts them in there together. And I think they would have had Tennessee actually not being in the playoff. But, computers are very important. It's the same thing with like analytics in football and analytics in baseball. Like, you have to be able to know tendencies and know when to go for two or when to, steal a base, but you also have to have a feel of your team, right? Pure data is helpful. Eye test is helpful. You can't do one or the other. So put them together like the BCS did, and it's perfect.
All right, final question here. Barrett Sallee right now. Outkick.com is the website. Smothered and Covered is the podcast. SiriusXM Channel 84. Subscribe to Barrett's YouTube channel. Find him on the Twitter side of things. Barrett, I want to go back just for a quick minute. You're a reporter. Your job is to deliver the news. I go back to Brett McMurphy. 1 minute before the selection show starts, I don't have a problem with him breaking the story. Because I saw a lot of people having meltdowns about that. I do have problems with how that information got out. Am I right or wrong?
You're 100% right. 100% right. I'd love to know what his source is. Because, they always joke on that TV show, I think his name was Zach this year, is the only person who knows that he's putting in graphics or whatever.
Sure.
Well, how does that info get out? Like, does he have somebody on the inside of the playoff committee? Because if they do, because if he does, that's a whole different ball of wax that the committee needs to address. They need to address an awful lot, but I don't have a problem with it either. I guarantee you there are people who are very angry about it in Grapevine, Texas, and there's an interrogation going on.
Was that brought up on the conference call, the teleconference? I had something else to do. I didn't listen to Word Man.
It was not.
See, I thought it would be. I thought that would be.
I thought it would be too.
They swallowed their Coke or whatever they were drinking.
They screwed a lot up. Like we talked about this before. Ward Manuel slipped up last week and said that teams were locked in that weren't playing.
And you know what?
That was an accident. No way.
It was an accident, and I almost think that he went back to overcorrected in some ways because I think he realized he put his foot in his mouth.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I know you guys are mad about this whole thing, but you can't punish SMU for playing in a championship game. But had he not said that, it would have been a lot easier to punish SMU for playing in a championship game. I still don't think they would have, but had he not painted himself into that corner, I think there would have been a little bit more debate for Alabama, just because I think at that point they dug so far in with Alabama they almost had to overcorrect. Which, they still would have come to the same conclusion, but I'm with you.
Barrett Sallee, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Barrett Sallee helping us out there. We'll go to Martin Houston coming up, and then we'll go to Robert in Mobile. He'll be the first caller out of the gate, and then we're wide open all the way until 6 o'clock. The Pharmacy at Midtown, TJ Thomas. He's the Nick Saban pharmacist, 205-752-0627, 205-752-0627. The Pharmacy at Midtown. You'll find it right at the back of Midtown. You've got the stairs. You got the elevator. You've got all the sterile compounding facility. It is the Pharmacy. The game here in Tuscaloosa, tied at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. The Tacoma, we are offering a $1,000 Christmas holiday bonus cash and some great interest rates on both the Tacoma and the Tundra. with a $1,000 cash Christmas holiday bonus cash attached to that. We're going to get to Robert in Mobile. Let's just spend a couple of minutes here with Martin Houston, as we do each and every Monday. Robert in Mobile, Pat, Josh, Cole, you guys are all up. We will not we promise to give you the allotment that you deserve. Robert, I know that you got cut off earlier, so you're first up, coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Let's go to Martin Houston, 1992 national champion winning fullback at the University of Alabama. Martin, I hope all is well. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
All is well, Ryan. Glad to be in the game with you. And, hey, man, if Robert got cut off and you want to bring him in, Robert and I'm fine with that.
Well, hey, I got a lot of questions for you. A lot of questions. And then listen, I'm going to pick on Robert on my own because, he was a big 12-team college football playoff guy. And, you look at the SEC, they did not get their way. I still think
I'm still a big 12-team guy. I just think that it's I don't know why we're shocked, Ryan. The same people who introduced the portal without guidelines, and then
I know where you're going.
Then lowered the guidelines, and then the people who introduced NIL are the same band of characters that are responsible for, in some capacity, college football playoffs. Why should we think that they advertise a system that say we're going to get the best 12 teams, and that's not really their goal nor their possibility, because they lock in 5 spots that already off the bat is going to knock out potentially teams that's better than the teams you're putting in, because all conferences aren't built equal. So why are we shocked?
We've been reading off and highlighting the committee. We've moved over. We are now calling it the DEI College Football Playoff. So that's where we're at.
But Ryan, this is one of my questions. Maybe you can answer this.
Okay, I'll try.
There's a Power 4, and then a group of 5. Now, who's in the group of 5? What conferences?
Well, I just have to go through it in my head. You've got Mountain West, the WAC, MAC,
and
Sun Belt, Conference USA, American.
Athletic.
Is that it?
Right.
Is that it?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, when did the Mountain West become on par with the ACC, the SEC, and all of them?
That's why we're calling it the DEI, because it's basically, it's not about deserving, it's about forcing it.
But here's
Martin, let's just remove a Boise State. If you remove a Boise State, there is a group of 5 that's going to get in this college football playoff regardless. So if Boise State's not there, you just had to go on down to the next highest group of 5 champ.
What I'm trying to say, though, Ryan, is why is Boise State in, and there is no conversation? Why was there not a discussion about Boise State and Army? Why is the Mountain West Conference, why is their champion considered a lock at number 3, and Army, who only lost 1 game to the number 5 team in the country, Notre Dame, that's the only loss they had, and they're number 22. The same committee that is ranking the Mountain West ranked Army in the 20s. So what makes the Mountain West?
And see, Army didn't even have a shot at it. They were the 10th team out of the college football playoff.
None of the other conferences did. None of the other group of 5 did. So what is it about Boise? Why is Boise there? That's the point. I'm like, this, Ryan, this committee, everybody was worried about them putting Alabama in, and I'm going to shut up and let you ask me the questions.
No. I mean, we're go for it. Don't stop.
Ron, everybody was worried about Alabama and the brand getting in last week. You know what this committee did? They used Alabama to generate more revenue last week.
You are talking. Come on. I mean, hey, as your congregation would say, come on.
You know why?
I've been thinking it all day.
You know why I know that? Because Clemson beat SMU, and SMU still ended up higher than them. So SMU wasn't going anywhere. If SMU was going to fall out because Clemson beat them and beat them bad, then they would have at least been below Clemson because Clemson did beat them. But yet Clemson moved up to number 12 as a champion, and the committee said, listen to what the committee said, Ron. The committee said, oh, I know y'all just played last night, but you're still better than that team that beat you last night. What we underestimated, Ryan, was the power of the $1 billion. Where is the committee voting at? Where are they having these meetings at?
Grapevine, Texas.
That's Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, right?
It is.
What else is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex? SMU.
Yeah, okay.
Ryan, do you think the players are the only ones getting money for the portal?
What do you mean?
The Pony Express, Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
Paid money and built teams the NIL way when it was illegal. Do you think that, and I hate to say this, Ryan, do you not think that some of those billionaires may have even made their way and made commitments? And it'll be interesting to watch what all comes from the billionaires that got SMU in. Because it doesn't make sense, Ron. SMU was in no matter what happened. Because the fact that they're still ranked higher than Clemson. They bought their way in. Maybe. I'm sorry.
Right. And I'm not trying to force you to talk bad about your teammate, but a lot of talk about Dabo advocating for SMU. I know that's coach talk, but he wouldn't be able to get tickets to the Christmas parade around here.
No, he wouldn't, but his Christmas parade is the ACC. And why everybody's dogging Dabo with the way he's doing it, Ron, his conference gets more money of what?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in case coach talk, I take coach talk, and I just, I don't really go crazy.
Listen. Of course Dabo's going to say that. That gets more money to his league.
Well,
that's number one.
Well, that's why we have sitting ADs, and we've been adding it up today. I think there's 4 or 5 ties out of this committee back to the ACC.
And here's the other part, Ryan. If you're Dabo, do you want SMU in your future path, or you want Alabama in your future path?
Yeah, it's a good point.
I mean, of course.
Sure.
Listen, all these coaches. Let me blow smoke for a minute, Ryan. Do you think those coaches that were advocating, SMU is a deserving playoff team, SMU this and this? Of course they're going to say that. Why would they not say Alabama? You notice none of them said Ole Miss or Alabama. What was the argument that Alabama shouldn't be in? Because of the bad loss to Oklahoma, right? They got smoked by Oklahoma. Well, why didn't they start advocating for Ole Miss versus South Carolina? Why did they skip Ole Miss and start making an argument that Ole Miss should be in front of Alabama? Ole Miss's best 2 wins are the same best 2 wins that Alabama had, right? Georgia, South Carolina. They smoked them 27-3 and by 18 over Georgia. Why is that team not in? You see what I'm saying? That's why because they were advocating for teams they think they can beat. They can tell you all they want. That's it.
All right, man. There's so many different directions I could go here. I look back at, we were talking about Greg Sankey, and we've been all day. I still think he has egg on his face. I think he went along with his participation trophy and he got burned.
Not only did he go along with it, Ryan, he went along with it under the pretense that strength of schedule was going to be part of the equation. Therefore, the SEC had a marked edge. But what this committee decided was wins matter, not losses, unless they were talking about Alabama. They never talked about Alabama's wins when it came time to not put Alabama in. They said, they had that bad loss. But they talked about just number of wins, not quality of wins, not strength of wins, but just win totals. Ryan, if you look at it, and Texas goes in this category, Texas, Indiana, and SMU, none of them played the top 5 or 6 teams in their conference, and if they did, they lost. SMU played the top of their conference, they lost. Texas played the top part of their conference, they lost. Indiana played the top of their conference, they lost. All of their wins came from the bottom of their conference. Ryan, have you looked up how many wins Texas opponents, the 7 wins that Texas got, have you looked up how many total wins they had in the SEC?
I haven't.
They played 56 games, 7 teams, starting with Texas A&M, who's number 8, down to number 16. That's the teams that Texas played outside of Georgia. They played 56 games. They had 18 total wins.
Wow. Martin.
That's who Texas beat. And that's who Texas gets next year. Thus, that's why Kirby Smart called him out. Did you hear that?
Well, absolutely. We've been talking about it. I mean, I applaud as many times as we like to take shots at Kirby. I applaud him for having the guts to be able to say that to Greg Sankey's face on national stage.
Kirby recognizes his place now. He's the dean. He's the daddy, and you ain't gonna mess with him. You're not gonna be stupid enough to mess, especially considering the fact that this new committee just played Sankey and put in 4 weak teams, with Indiana being 1, Indiana being the 4th team from the Big Ten, and Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina all better than that team. So,
Martin, if you're Alabama, when we look at the future schedules, and we have went over those multiple times in the last couple of hours, Alabama will take on Wisconsin here from a non-conference opponent. They'll also go to Florida State as they'll open up the schedule of 2025. They've got ULM and Eastern Illinois, which, okay, move that out to the side. If you look at 2026, they've got at West Virginia. South Florida's not a pushover. That's a non-conference game, and Florida State. You keep moving on. 2027, they've got West Virginia, Ohio State. You go to 2028, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Should Greg Byrne start canceling some of these non-conference opponents? And people have overreacted to that. I can't believe that we have people that cover the game of college football and they can't read basic, statement that he made. He's basically saying on top of the SEC grind, I don't know if strength of schedule is going to be rewarded. Why would they play this?
Right. And as a fan, Ryan, you want to see those games. But if an Alabama goes through the SEC with 1 loss, they're in the playoffs every year. Or 2 losses. Every year. Alabama's going to be in the playoffs. So why take a chance playing the big ones from a football, from a program, from a playoff standpoint? From a fan standpoint, you want to see those types of games. But based on what this committee did, everybody said that this decision was going to ruin the regular season or ruin the championship games. The championship games, Ryan, aren't going anywhere. Why? Because Clemson is in the playoffs. Every year, there's going to be one or two people that look at that championship game and it's a play-in opportunity. So they're not that's going to bring value. But the regular season, everybody's going. But why would I play anybody tough other than what's on my schedule that's innate tough? Nobody's going to do that moving forward. They'd be stupid to. Because it's not going to matter, right? Do you really think it's going to matter if Alabama is 12-0 and has Mercer and those teams on their schedule, or 10-2 and and have Mercer on their schedule? Do you think it matters?
No.
SEC just got in, Ryan, and they have Houston Christian in Nevada, and TCU and BYU. That's their, and they got in with 2 losses.
Well, but Martin, if you can't look at SMU and tell that they're not one of the 12 best teams in the country, then I don't even know where to start. I mean, their best quality win, it was a almost victory over Clemson. And that was Clemson was not a very good football team this year. I mean, but they're in the college football playoffs. I mean, that's why I'm calling it the DEI college football playoffs. Hey, Martin, before I let you go, I want to ask you real quick. Help me honor Antonio Langham, because at some point we're going to have to spend some time with this, and we're going to try to, feature, players that can kind of talk about him. He'll be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. He was your teammate. Can you take a minute and talk about Antonio Langham?
Oh, man, I love myself some Langham. The guy was an absolute talent, Ryan. I mean, he was just good. I mean, he had instincts. He had good ball skills. He had the ability, when he got it, he knew what to do with it. And so from what he was able to do on the field, man, I'm so glad he's getting this honor. A lot of people associate him with some of the trouble that Alabama had, but if people knew the whole story, they would love him even more. He took a bullet for Alabama football. And I'm not going to get into the details of it, Ryan, but all of you out there that's listening to the sound of my voice that have a negative opinion about the trouble that people try to associate Antonio Langham with, he took a bullet for this program because he did what he was supposed to do, and then other people didn't. And then he was the scapegoat, and he took it like a man. That's what I love about Antonio Langham. He was one of the funnest teammates. He was one of the guys that always had us laughing, always kept us loose. It could be the most serious moment, but he could crack you up. So for me, that's what made him. He was such a good player, Ryan. And DBs kind of spend their time out there on the island, right? So a lot of guys sometimes they're kind of isolated, but he was such a team guy. And like I said, to me, he kept us loose so many times because he was such a fun guy to be around. And if you get to talk to him now, he's still the same way.
Oh, he's incredible.
Still that same loving guy, but uber talented, Ryan, and very, very deserving. The guy may have, in some ways, he may have single-handedly, Ryan, brought us to where college football is today.
Yeah, that's a great point. Never really thought about that angle. That's why I put that on a question, man. I appreciate that. And
that one interception against against Florida in that first ever SEC championship game that took an undefeated Alabama from losing that championship game to winning it and going on to win a national championship paved the way for the championship football that we have to this day. Had we not got that play, and I'm not saying it would have, but that one moment for sure sealed our destiny, changed Alabama football, but I also think it may have saved the direction and catapulted the direction for SEC championship game. We lose that and don't make it to the national championship game because of that loss. People may not be willing to play, because back then there was no vote afterwards. That was it. If we lost, we were out.
Martin Houston, appreciate you as always. Promote everything that you're involved in. I'm going to let you get out of here.
All right, man. I appreciate that, Ryan. Hey, listen, I have the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions. It is an educating, equipping, and empowering company. We speak, we coach, we train. If you're a new leader out there or transitioning to leadership or transitioning over an organization and you're looking to develop a playbook that will help you develop a champion's mindset, you need to join my championship program, championship mindset. All you need to do is shoot me an email at martin@martinhouston.org, or you can go to martinhouston.org, the website, click book me, complete the information. It'll shoot me an email, and I'll follow up with you. And that's the champion's mindset. Man, let's get it started today. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Martin, I appreciate you. And listen to Martin every morning, 6 a.m. here on Tide 100.9. Find him on the Facebook account as well. Martin, appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Roll Tide.
Right back to you. We're phone lines the rest of the way. I just wanted to spend some time talking about Antonio Langham, and we're saluting him for he'll be inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame coming up this week in the College Football Hall of Fame. 429-9904 Southern Ale House. Dockside is closed this evening, but you'll find it at the original location, 1530 McFarland Boulevard. Always some great dinner specials. Bacon wrapped meatloaf's always on the normal menu. The biscuit sandwiches are incredible. The great burgers that you'll find. And also red velvet bread pudding. Yes, sir. Red velvet bread pudding. Had lunch there today, Jackson, and I didn't even have to buy my lunch. Can you believe it? Somebody picked up my tab. So I can't say that person on the air because could have been a source. Could have been. I won't say it on the air, though. So I didn't see anybody I knew or didn't recognize, so that's good. It's good. But, I got information for the show later this week and got a free meal. How about that?
Is this someone that you may have teased to me earlier, like a couple weeks ago?
Maybe. Oh, you never know who you're going to see. That's
I have an idea now.
Eat right. Southern, be Southern. I'll leave it at that. Let's go to Robert in Mobile. Robert, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Red velvet bread pudding. That's definitely Southern.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Woo! Glory. Now you're going to make me swing by for dinner and grab, because I did not have the red velvet bread pudding, but oh yeah, that's Southern. All you got to do is, if you could drop that in some Crisco, it'd be heaven on earth right there.
Now deep fried red velvet bread.
All right, Robert, it's your fault that we're sitting here crying out of this 12-team playoff. I hope you accept full responsibility.
Well, I don't accept full responsibility for Kamala Harris's loss. I accept full responsibility for that. But the only thing that the playoff saved us is we would have been crying a lot sooner.
Jackson just made that during the break. He literally just made that comment did you not, Jackson? You literally just said that 3 minutes ago when we were during the break. You're right.
Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike.
And we could have probably had a couple of more losses. You never know.
That's the only thing the playoff saves for crying sooner. Of course, the problem is in the playoffs. The problem is the selection committee and how it's selected. Have you been with the old BCS system of selecting teams? Alabama and a whole bunch of other teams would be in that really should be in. The old system of BCS was doing a much better job of selecting the 12 teams than this current system we had, the one that everybody hated a long time ago.
But why did they hate it? Why did they hate it? Because they couldn't manipulate it. Those bad computers. I can't believe those computers wrote that code. Come on.
If the computer was the only aspect of the 12 team of the BCS. Yeah, and even then, the computer got it right more often than they got it wrong. Would there be some ironic ones in there?
I screwed up. I just screwed up. Southern Ale House just sent me a message. It's Reese's bread pudding. I think Red Velvet's next week. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You got to get that
Reese's bread pudding. Reese bread pudding.
Nick Saban who's been outstanding on college football game day. I mean, we thought he'd be good, but he's really even better than we thought. He's the best thing on college game day right now. But during the selection time, after the selection, he brought up a fantastic point. The trouble was SMU should never have been in the 12 teams to begin with before the final poll even came out. He said it should have been a play-in game for either Clemson or SMU, the same way it was for Iowa State and Arizona State. You're okay. Your schedule isn't all that good. But we're not going to reward you with two teams. You're only going to get one, and this will be a play-in game for whoever wins. That's how it should have been. And there lies the problem when you weren't taking the strength of schedule into consideration. And everybody has said about planning these schedules going forward is absolutely true. Like Nick Saban also said, and I think who's the other guy? I forgot his name. But, he's saying the same thing. You got to reevaluate these schedules now.
Oh, you must. You must. Yeah.
You've rewarded a team with a pathetic schedule, with two teams, really, with a pathetic schedule the ACC is, by getting into the playoffs. And for all those people who say, well, Alabama lost 3 games. Yeah, so did Clemson, 3 regular season games. And we're not, and the other argument against Alabama is that we're crying, they say we're crying, is that you didn't lose in your out-of-conference game where you're talking about your out-of-conference game. The point was we're playing in the toughest conference in college football. We're not going to complicate things more by playing tough out-of-conference games when it's just all risk and no reward. Well, if it was all risk and no reward, then guess what? No risk. We're not going to take the risk. Clemson shot themselves in the foot by ever scheduling Georgia. They should never have scheduled Georgia. Clemson scheduled Georgia because they ironically thought, like we used to think, strength of schedule matter, and because the ACC sucks so bad, we better get at least one quality team in there we can probably get a win off of to boost our resume. Clemson, they fooled you. You didn't need to do that at all. You could have just scheduled Houston Christian too, and instead of Georgia, and you would have been gold. So, that's the message you want to send?
Robert, with that being said, would you fault Greg Byrne if he started canceling some of these non-conference games? I mean,
I don't see where you have a choice if this doesn't change. He has no choice. You're leaving him without a choice. The message you are sending is all that matters is wins and losses. How many losses you got? Not quality wins or playing quality games. Is how many losses and how many wins? Well, okay. We're going to set that where we get as few losses possible then. And don't get mad. But you remember all the criticism when they would say about, week before the rivalry week, how bad the SEC games were that week before? That they always love to criticize us for that. Well, guess what? That's all you're going to see now, Buddy Rowe. We're not going to schedule anybody tough before Auburn anymore. That's ridiculous. Or out-of-conference games are going to be ECU, Mercer Tech, Mercer U, Mercer A&M. That's what it's going to have to be. So, hey, they sent the message. Like one of your guests said, it's either you're going to, like Martin Hughes said, the idea was you're either diminishing the championship game or you're diminishing the regular season. And they thought we got to make these championship games worth playing. Like you said, many of them will still be worth playing for at least one team. All of them will be worth playing for at least one team. Because at least for one team, it's going to be a play-in game, a potential play-in game. So the championship is worthwhile for that. But Martin Hughes mentioned something else good on his show this morning, which I thought, okay, you want to fix for all this. When they do go to the 16 teams, I guess they're going to eventually do that. The first 8 is just committee. Fine, committee, you pick the first 8. The second 8, that week that's normally for championship games, it's just going to be playoff games for the remaining 8. Then you all get to play to see who goes on in first. No, the committee ain't picking the bottom eight. The bottom eight's going to play to see who goes into the playoffs further. That's what championship week is going to be. If you want some fair way to get this, because we can't trust, like you said, we can't trust the committee to get this right. I don't mind bias as long as you're fair. It's impossible not to be biased. You just can't let them stop you from being unfair.
Well, but Robert, you're an engineer. You've probably taken a lot more stats classes than I have. When you have a 13-member panel, it's easy to be. I mean, like, you can't calculate for bias. 13 members. I can be biased. I'm biased, but I'm not going to let it prevent me from being unfair. Like, even if I don't like a person, I'm not going to like them. Many people don't like Cam Newton, but he was a great quarterback in college football. Everybody, nobody else found admitting that. He was.
Okay, you don't like him. You're biased against him, but you're not going to deny he was a great college ball player, ball quarterback, one of the best ever. There you go. You can be biased and still be fair. Now, if you refuse to do that, well, like they said, one abuse of the BCS is that there was a whole lot of people making these decisions, and you had the computer that was, as impartial as you could make it. That it could do a lot, but it could do pretty well under that system. People giving us 12 teams or 16, whichever one it ends up being eventually. But not with this stuff now. It's all conferences aren't the same. You have eyeballs. You can see they're not the same, but you're still judging them by wins or losses, and not the quality of the wins or the quality of the losses. If you're not going to do that, well, guess what? You're not going to see. Yeah, we should cancel Ohio State and Alabama. We should cancel Ohio State, Virginia Tech. We should cancel every single one of those games. Nope, sorry, we're not going to play them. Our conference is tough enough as it is.
Amen. You nailed it. I don't know what else to add to that. I mean, you Robert, you've victory lap. Thank you.
All right, man.
Thank you. Robert in Mobile. Let's go to Pat here in Tuscaloosa. Pat, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Ryan Fowler, how we doing, my baby?
I'm good. I'm good.
Did I win? We're going to announce who won the 3-team call.
Just like we do every week. We'll do it toward the end of the week, not on a Monday. I promise you. We haven't done it any.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll follow. No big deal. No big deal. I'm pretty sure I'm close. Anyway, hey, Martin Houston did his homework. What a call by Martin Houston. Hats off to Martin. I got him fired up early this morning talking about we need to go on and fire Jalen on the
Not
spot.
you.
I did all I could. I got 12 callers to call into the show. I was doing what my man in Americus, Georgia, wanted me to do, get them stirred up. And I got them stirred up.
We're actually, Tommy, Tommy was the next caller, or not the next caller, but he just called in on the call where I saw his name pop up. So he's got a few callers in front of me. But we're nominating Bama Nick to be a part of the college football selection committee. After reading through these resumes, he's got just as much.
He cannot do. He knows way more about college football than 99% of them do. Hey, the fact that Condoleezza Rice no longer sits on that committee, I think is a travesty.
Well, but why was she put on that committee? Because what does she stand for? Integrity. Condoleezza Rice stood for integrity. Arch Manning stood for integrity. He walked out before the first ever meeting. He smelled a rat from day one.
Well, this business, just like what Martin said, when you try to put somebody from the Mountain West in above Ole Miss, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look at this committee. There's very few here that are actually impressive.
Look at that.
I mean,
somebody blank it and put it up there.
Okay. Well, whatever, Pat.
I'm sorry. I'm back here. I'm back. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah. But no, I mean, when you look at, I mean, I'm going through the names and we're not, I know we just, we're reading off the different names each and every break. But Kelly Whiteside, she spent 14 years at the USA Today as national college football writer, but she specialized in reporting in the Olympics and World Cup.
Okay, that really qualifies her to know something about football. I mean, if she had been handling soccer, she at least could have possibly known a little bit about a place kicker or something, but it wasn't even soccer, Ryan. Come on.
But she does teach at the Columbia Journalism School. So I'm sure she's very, very fair.
Columbia Journalism School, good Lord. Okay. But again, hey, get eggheads that have no business deciding who's going to the college football playoffs. I don't know. I don't know that you wouldn't be better off to go to Europe and get 13 soccer coaches could do just as good a job or better job than what they did, and they spell football with a U.
I got you. All right, Pat, enjoy your grocery shopping, my friend.
Yeah. Have a blessed day, Ryan Fowler. Thank you, sir.
You do as well. Let's go to Cole. Cole, good afternoon. You're in the game.
What's up, man?
Hey, good. I hope you are, too.
Man. I thought you said Alabama would make the playoffs every year in the 12 team. Remember you said that back in the summertime? Remember that?
Yeah. Throw darts at me. Go for it.
No, I'm not. I
did.
See it both ways. I see it both ways.
When you look at a 12-team playoff, that Alabama would always be a part of it. I did.
I see it both ways. I like the committee. I think they did it right. Because the reason why I say SMU is because they did have that extra game that day, and they did play Clemson to the wire. They had that game. They had the edge, and they were only a 2-loss.
The signature win is barely losing to Clemson.
Well, it was the ACC championship. It was for the conference title, and then they held their ground. They didn't get blown out. Therefore, they played it down to the wire, and therefore they got in.
Okay, then. Maybe Alabama should join the ACC.
They didn't drop Alabama. Alabama stayed at 11.
Hey, you're right.
And there is.
I think that did.
It's a controversy. Why SMU's in? Why Bama's not in?
11, Arizona State backdoored it, and then
there's a good argument for Alabama for not being in and out, just like SMU does, or for them not being in, not being out. So it goes both ways. It's I don't know. It goes both ways. They make good points for both teams.
Well, now it's time to rebuild for 2025, man.
I'm excited. I think we're going to be fine next year. I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to be good. I like with Milroe, if he declares or not, we can definitely move forward and just see what this recruiting does. I think we got a bright future ahead of us, though, for sure.
Well, super cool. All right. Thank you, Cole.
All right, maybe good.
Thank you. 205-342-99. Roll Tide. I'm sorry, Cole. I didn't mean to cut you off right there. Roll Tide to you. I do remind you about Bronhart Construction SEC Parlay Pick Day. Always presented by Bronhart Construction, but we'll turn that into free-for-all Friday as we do during the off-season. We'll have some fun. We'll do basketball predictions as well. We want to still get people qualified, and we'll do probably Alabama and Creighton on Friday. May do it on Friday at 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. We've watched a lot of Alabama haters take victory laps. Jackson, do you know why they've been hating on the Alabama Crimson Tide?
They hate us because they ain't us, I think.
Well,
but
that's
also
part of it.
The number 2 recruiting class.
That's probably some of it, but this is the main reason. 18 national titles, 30 SEC titles, 147 first-team All-Americans, 77 will be 78 postseason appearances, 45 postseason victories, 4 Heisman winners, the NCAA all-time scoring leader, and the greatest football coaches to ever walk the sidelines. We are powered, and we are playing radio until 6 o'clock. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. The Toyota-thon is on, and we're talking about a RAV4. We're talking about a Highlander, a Camry, Corolla, the pre-owned inventory. You can view all of that inventory online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. We're doing a Daniel Moore Monday. Daniel Moore Monday. Remember, if you're looking for that Alabama fan in your life, special discount code, The Game. No space, The Game, no space. Tell them that you heard about it right here, and you can find a calendar. If you're looking for a great gift idea, it is DanielMooreArt.com. Let's go to Josh in Georgia, Jason in T-Town, Tommy, and then we'll also work our way some other calls. We do have one line available at 205-342-9904. Let's go to Josh in Georgia. Josh, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Good afternoon, Ryan. I know we're all kind of, I wouldn't say down in the dumps, but we're definitely not where we want to be right now, and we're not where we thought we would be right now. As soon as church got out yesterday, I'm telling you, I grabbed my phone to see, and the heartbreak that I felt, it was real.
It was. It
was real. But you run through those credentials. Listen, you posted it earlier. You said to the Alabama haters, and I love it. I have been commenting on a lot of stuff that you posted here recently, and it's like most of the reactions I have gotten, because people like to read and react to comments, apparently, people have rallied around where I'm just like, hey, keep your head up, roll tide, let's go get this bowl win, and let's go down and take care of business, because does not Michigan's AD sit on this committee? Did I hear that somewhere?
He does. Ward Manuel. He's the selection. He's the selection committee's chair.
Let's go smack Michigan in the mouth, and I mean not just beat them, 38-17 or what. I'm talking about let's hang 40 to nearly 50. We got to go smack these suckers in the mouth. And I mean, I'm still living off of the fact that we beat Auburn, and I was there to see it, because that to me is a make or break season right now. Always has been. If you beat Auburn, you had a great season. You don't beat Auburn, go back to the drawing board. Is that fair? I mean, has that been one of the standards in Tuscaloosa? You got to beat little brother every time you play him. I know our standard is a national title.
No, I don't think the standard is that. I think the standard is winning a national title. I think that's the standard.
But I'm just saying.
Is it good? Is it good? Absolutely. You better not lose that game. But I mean,
right. Because it's another whole year, 365-day bragging rights of, hey, we won a state championship and the state of Alabama's crimson once again. But we have got to go take care of our business, and I know we still got about 3 weeks to prepare, maybe even 4 if I've looked at the calendar. I can't remember right off. But tomorrow, this time, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away, whatever it is, we will be suiting up to play Michigan in Tampa Bay, and we have got to go take care of our business. Now, did the committee get it wrong? I personally think they got it wrong, because if you look at us versus SMU, plain and simple, and you want to discuss this thing of strength of schedule, resume, and all that, we have 4 ranked SEC wins, and then I think the Wisconsin win looks good because of the way Wisconsin played Oregon in a 3-point game in Madison on that Saturday night. But we beat Mizzou in a shutout, a top 20 Mizzou. We beat a top 20 LSU pretty handily in Baton Rouge, and it's hard to do that in their own house, and we ran them out of the stadium. And then the biggest booster to me would be we hold a win over the people who won the SEC championship, being those nasty Georgia Bull puppies. And the fact that they put this other team in against and over us, that is just wrong. I mean, at best, let us play SMU, and let us have a playing game. Winner gets in, losers out, okay? I mean,
I like your idea, but
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm pretty well. I done been talking to Mitchell a little bit while I've been on hold through text, and I told him, I said, dude, I'm pretty ticked off about this thing, because if you look at resume versus resume, our strength of schedule was like 17th to their 75th or 77th or whatever. I mean, am I going to live with it? Yes. Am I happy about it? No. I'm pretty ticked off, and that's why I think we need to go down to Tampa Bay, Florida in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I keep saying it, and drill Michigan in the ground.
I hope the team, and I don't have any reason to doubt, I hope they have that same fight, Josh, and I'm not saying that they won't, but I hope they have that same energy.
Right. And if I have to, I will bottle it up by way of tape recorder or digital recorder. However it's done, I will send it to the proper channels and let them play it before the team, if that's even a thing. I mean, you know how I am. I don't even have ties to the university, dude. It's at that moment in 2009, whenever we made Tim Tebow cry, Mark Ingram's mocking the Gator chump on the sideline. That is the moment where I was like, I want to pull for these guys. And I mean, I've been all into it, and then when I got to experience my first game 7 years ago, dude, the tradition is unlike any other. The atmosphere is unlike any other. And for me to be that way and not have any ties to the University of Alabama, I don't know what more I could do. And I got to go to 5 out of 7 home games this year. That
Roll Tide.
So, and I love it. So, and we still are the best program in the country because you read it off every day at 5 o'clock. And if you don't like that, well, I'm not going to say anything after that because my mother said if you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all. And I probably have to go to the altar and get right for it if I did.
There you go. All right.
So
Thank you, Josh.
Nice.
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you, Josh in Georgia. Let's go to Jason in T-Town. Jason, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
I'm good. I hope you are as well.
Doing pretty good. Did we deserve to be there? Yeah. We had a very valid argument of being in the playoffs. Am I okay with us not being in them? Yeah, I kind of am. Coach Saban has spoiled those of us who go to a lot of the games, and a lot of us are kind of tired and need a little bit of a break. However, did we deserve to be in that field of 12? Yeah, you could make an argument, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 teams, that we're just as good, if not better, than those teams, and that Vegas could probably confirm that as well, if you kind of catch my drift. But this whole 12-team playoff, it's got to be changed. It's got to be reformatted or something, because this whole thing where we're given automatic bids just because someone wins a conference, or just because someone plays in a conference game and loses in their conference game, giving them almost an automatic bid. That's absurd.
Well,
it's absolutely absurd.
Greg Sankey, quote, the most powerful person in college football got screwed. I mean, he got shafted. I mean, he literally got tricked. He went along and he got scammed. I mean, he bought into it. He literally bought into it. And some of this is on Greg Sankey. Listen, first off, if you go back to the 2 o'clock hour, I opened up the show and I said, number one, Alabama did not take care of business against Oklahoma. Start there.
They did not.
That's self-responsibility. But number two is Greg Sankey maybe don't have it. Maybe he doesn't have as much power as we think he does.
Well, I tell you what, old Kirby made him look like he was just a body in a place the other day, and I'm not a big Kirby fan.
I'm not either, but it was a great response.
Ryan, as you're well aware, and a lot of people that know about Kirby's exit, he kind of torched some bridges on the way out of Tuscaloosa. However, I like Kirby a little bit more after Saturday because, number one, he beat Texas. We don't need them winning the first year, SEC championship, blah, blah, blah. But, man, did he embarrass Sankey, and it was fantastic. Fantastic. Sankey just stood there because what could he say? What could he do? And I know that was more specifically related to his UGA's away schedule, but, you know, there's a lot of issues that people have with Sankey, especially after Sunday. But Ryan, I've got a question. How many college football playoff members are, whatever you want to call them, deciders, whatever their title is, how many of these are current athletic directors or have some strong connection to a university, especially, apparently, the ACC?
Several. Yeah, several.
Wow. Oh, I'm sure there's no correlation or causation there whatsoever for Clemson and SMU getting in there. I'm sure there's nothing to do with it there. But aren't these like the same people that had maybe not a direct correlation or a direct cause, but like that were involved with NIL and portal coming around and things that?
They did nothing when they were supposed to do something. Yes.
Oh, wow. Holy cow. It's like you're reading my mind, Ryan. So why, and I know there's been a person or two earlier that has spoke to this, but why would we trust these same idiots who made these NILs and these portals come about with no regulations or guidelines? Why would we trust them to turn what was pretty solid of a college football playoff and a 4-team playoff, or even BCS? Why would we trust them? Why were people just like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great in the coming years. Everybody's going to be involved. Socialism for college football. It's amazing.
It is. That's why we're calling it the DEI college football playoffs.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, I keep looking through this to try to find, like, David Saylor, which we've not read off his credentials, but He is the Miami University, Miami of Ohio athletic director.
Of Ohio, okay.
They know.
They're in Big Ten territory. Let's not water that down.
He also spent time at Rice, Oregon State, Bowling Green, Houston, Hartford, Georgia, and UConn. He is a graduate of Ohio Wesleyan University in accounting. I mean, I go through the credentials like I'm telling you, I'm putting Bama Nick as a nomination.
I mean, at this point, it makes sense to have him up there just as much as anybody else. Heck, give him a six-pack and let him sit up there, you know?
I mean, you go through the roster, like Mark Rhodes. I need to go back to when Baylor had all their trouble, but he's in his 7th year as Baylor Vice President and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics.
Yeah, and essentially what we're going to get with these playoffs is what we had this past weekend and then in the weekend previous to that, where you're going to see pretty much the same teams that you expect to lose. They're going to lose. Or they're going to be just absolutely destroyed, and people are going to be like, see, they had no reason to be there. Do you really think Arizona State is going to go all the way in this, or Indiana, or for that matter, Clemson or Notre Dame? No. And another thing, Notre Dame, kick them out of the playoffs until they join a conference. That's garbage.
But I mean, they get to see the table when you talk about the subcommittees. I mean,
absolutely they do. So, absolutely.
And I'm not sure that's not the best path.
They say brand bias for Alabama. Brand bias.
You don't have to play a conference game. You don't have to be either punished or anything of that nature if you lose a conference game. Which I'm sorry, a loser to the conference to a conference title game. No, absolutely not.
Out of all of everything we've said today, Ward Manuel is the selection. He's not just on the committee. He's the selection chairman. He's in his 8th year as Michigan's director of athletics.
Are you about to read us our quote that he told us the other day about strength?
No,
schedule?
I wasn't going to read the strength of schedule, but how many times have they been investigated for integrity violations?
Oh, more than I have, more than I can count.
Yeah,
but I wanted to say
Jim Grobe. He obviously spent a ton of time in the ACC, 13 years for Wake Forest. So,
And I had one more question for you that I was thinking about, Ryan. And I know this may not be.
I'm tired of
yeah.
I mean, you can't polish a turd. It's still a turd.
That's exactly right. And this might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but I guess Brett McMurphy has confirmed that Milroe has said he's going to come back next year. Do you have any knowledge if that's valid or legit or just garbage?
Where did you see that at?
I'll send it to you. If I can find it again, let me say that. But it was quoted from Brett McMurphy, the thing that I saw. And it could be some garbage. People put out garbage left and right every single minute of every single day. But I want to say this.
I haven't seen that, at least.
Okay. That makes me feel a little bit more direction of what I know the answer is.
Okay, I'm going to go to Brett McMurphy. I'm going to do a search for his Twitter account and see if he put anything, because I don't see it.
Yeah, and if I saw it the other day, I'm pretty sure I screenshot it, so I'll send it to you. But I want to say this.
You're saying it happened a couple of days ago? Yeah, I thought you were talking about like the last 30 seconds or something. No.
Oh, no. If that's the case, then I know it's garbage.
Yeah, no.
Somebody probably quoted him that was just doing it, to be funny or whatever.
Yes.
But, is Milroe a great kid and a great athlete? He absolutely is. Is he a great quarterback? No. If he's going to stay, and I wish him all the best. I wish him nothing but positive things. He's done a lot of good for us in some pretty awful offensive line times that we've had. Anyways,
he's been the galvanizing moment of that locker room, and one day that story will be told. And I think that's a big reason they have been very loyal to him, because he's been very loyal to them. And
yes. But as a buddy of mine said, you can't allow somebody to take an entire football program hostage just because you think he's a great person. And that's the nicest way to put it.
But here's your problem, Jason. He was the best quarterback for 2023 for this team, and he was the best quarterback for 2024. So you really, you don't.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that for this year, Ryan.
I'm telling you.
What kind of offense does Kalen DeBoer have? Air raid, correct?
Nah, I mean I wouldn't say air raid.
I thought it was actually an actual air raid offense.
No. I mean he does take his number of deep shots. I mean, and I think when you look at quarterback numbers, Jalen Milroe by far is going to be the lowest production stats wise that Kalen DeBoer's had in a long time from a quarterback position. I mean, if you want to go back, I mean he's thrown for 2652. I guess he's
Ryan,
got a chance to get to 3,000. But I mean,
what about the two primary duties of a quarterback?
It's a distribution center. Hold on.
Exactly.
Jackson, pull up the clip with wide receivers. It's talking about the wide receivers because I think Kalen DeBoer touched on this, that it is his offense, but it's adjusting to the personnel, and that's what good coaches are able to do. Listen to this clip. Jackson, give me a thumbs up when you got it. It's about wide receivers. And if we don't have it, we'll play it here in a second.
But, Ryan, you also have to have a quarterback that can read defenses. Do you think our current QB1 can do that?
See if it's the we'll get it in just a second. We'll get it right here in just a second. Because I'm looking at it, but I want to make sure we play the right one because it's but it's a pretty telling quote that they're not running a lot of the offense. And I had a quarterback who evaluated UW and he evaluated Alabama, and he said now this was a quarterback that just evaluated. He said there might be 8 to 10 plays that he can see a little bit of overlap at what they did at UW and then what they did here. So, to answer your question,
now, if you have a quarterback that's not picking up on an offense, don't you tend to have to water it down a little? That's in general question, Ryan.
But I mean, I think you could make that same argument that you have to water it down for Ryan Williams because he's such a young player. You have to water that defensive secondary down and not be as complex because you're having to start younger players. So some of that is just.
But let me rephrase the question. If your QB1 is not picking up on all of the offensive plays, at that point, do you not have to water it down?
That answer is yes.
Okay. That's just an in general question.
He's like a defense attorney, or he's trying to spin back around and ask me the same question in a different way.
But real quick before I let you go.
Yes.
Before I let you go, Ryan,
I'm trying to be nice because Joseph's going to call in here and he's going to rant and rave, and I ain't going to have anywhere to hide.
I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you in general questions. I'm not trying to set you up.
I know you are.
Well, just use an example.
But real quick, if the only things that matter from now on are a 0 in the loss columns, I'm all for canceling all of our big games, and I'm a season ticket holder. I'm all for canceling our bigger games and just schedule the blind and deaf sisters of Lee County and just do it that way.
Let's see if Houston Christian's got any available games.
There you go. You know, and Burns caught a lot of stuff for what he said earlier, but people aren't looking at the bigger picture. They're saying, oh, well, your out of conference didn't cause you anything. It's on top of us playing in the SEC, which devours one another. I don't care where you're from. If you don't see that, you're just willfully blind when it comes to that, or you have an allegiance to a conference.
I got to run, Jason. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm
absolutely
way over time. Thanks, man. Again, Homer Crimson, Jared Houston, Marty. I want to go back to the audio that we were telling Jason about. Here it is. It's about the wide receivers, but it's also about the offense that they're running or lack thereof. And you can play into it what you'd like. I mean, but Jason was asking about it, and I wanted to play it. This is Kalen DeBoer talking about the wide receivers because Alabama's had multiple wide receivers, right? When you look at Kobe Prentice, he's in the transfer portal. Caleb Odom, the big 5-star. Kendrick Law, who has played a very important role on the kickoff side of things. tight end Danny Lewis, and I think this all applies to those guys. And hopefully this portal has slowed down just a little bit, right? I mean, we saw a lot of guys in here, but really it has slowed down, and knock on wood. This is Kalen DeBoer talking about that wide receiver room, and maybe out of all of the positions, that seemed to be the one that was hit the most.
I think they're aware that, that just our style of offense this year, it was all about whatever it took to win. And I'll credit those guys. They did a great job of doing whatever they needed to do to help us win. And we got a lot of unselfish guys, that from year to year is going to change and evolve based on the personnel we have. And, the style is going to be different. It might not just be, your quarterback. It might be, the number of receivers or tight ends. We're going to try to have some guys that fit a little bit of what we envision it being, down the road. But, that's kind of what I really appreciate about our guys is it was all about whatever it took to win, and them taking a backseat to whatever it would take to do that for them individually. And it's just, all those guys did that.
Next, let's go with Chase Goodbread.
All right. So, and that was the Zoom call. So we wanted to isolate that comment. Appreciate there. And let's continue. And we got a Tommy in Romulus. Tommy, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ron. How are you?
I'm good. We're voting for Bama Nick to be on the college football selection committee. What do you think?
But he won't take the job because there's not enough liquor in Indianapolis or Indiana for him.
Well, they actually meet in Grapevine, Texas. So I would, yeah.
Well, he can't keep up with them brag at Texas, how much everything's bigger and better in Texas. He can't keep up with them because they were lying. So, he don't need to go over there either. I mean, he needs to stay in Georgia where it's probably safe. Because everything bigger in Texas, and Texans lie about everything. So, he needs to stay in Georgia.
Well, speaking of portal updates, we just got an announcement that Jaheim Otis plans to enter the portal.
Jaheim Otis has always been in the portal.
He has?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got in the portal way, way back when. So he was a guy that got removed.
Back in October.
Yeah, it was October. So officially putting his name in the portal is what you're saying. So he's officially, got his name in the portal. So,
Well, what have I told you? If the NCAA can screw Alabama, they will. They done it in '66. They done it in '77 or anything. Alabama had the opportunity. Alabama, I'm going to get on Alabama fans. You got to learn the committee is never fair. They talk a good game.
And you can't put it in their hands. You cannot put it in their hands. No.
No, they full of crap. Just like after I heard LSU, we in. Well, I heard people after we lost to Oklahoma, if this team loses, then we can get in. No. We must take care of business. And we didn't. We dropped an ugly, stinking, rotten egg in Norman, and that bit us. If we took care of business, we wouldn't be in this mess. But no, we just right. All right, I'm going to tell you this. Starting Friday night, I was confident we were going to get, but listen to the people who call games. I muted the games all weekend. I didn't even have the words coming up again. Shane McDonough, who was with McElroy.
He's a great broadcaster, by the way. Yeah,
what?
He's a really good broadcaster.
Really? I think he's a wussy.
What do you?
All he can talk about is SMU. They're so deserving.
So did our former quarterback too.
I know. If he had any guts, he should have dropped the mic and said, "I'm done with this horse manure. I'll find me another job. I'll call high school." It was so sickening. I put it on mute. I didn't even watch the letter or the word that come across the bottom of the screen. That's how bad it was. I never saw so much sucking ass for a conference in my life that wasn't worth a crap. And ACC. Everybody mad at Dabo. Well, of course Dabo's going to brag on SMU.
I mean, it's coach talk. It's coach talk. And Dabo's probably got some bitterness. I mean, not much, but I mean, he probably did not get a phone call. His alma mater did not choose to even give him a courtesy call. Hey, would you?
Really? I didn't think he wanted the job because it was too much pressure.
Well, even if he didn't want the job, he could have still played it to his Clemson fan base to be able to make them appreciate it. So you got to remember what he was going through at this point last year from Steve in Spartanburg or whatever it was. So
well, whatever. But it just, sorry, I had to get rough for a moment. But no, they was going to make up for the whining Florida State fiasco, they said, at the ACC. It's funny. The two Texas schools that are in the playoff play about the weakest freaking schedule outside of the conference of any school is in the playoff. Think about that for a moment. Of course, Dabo is going to do his preaching. He lost to the SEC champion, but again this season, he lost the state championship, the last game of the regular season. And guess what, boys and girls in Radio Land? Alabama beat both of them. It doesn't matter if Alabama beat South Carolina by 2 points. They won. Just like, we are in and we don't win the game, SMU, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? You played the game to win. I didn't play baseball or basketball sport. We in. It doesn't really matter. No, you played the win.
You sound like you're qualified to be on the committee. I mean,
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Well, no, you got the guy from Miami, Ohio. He's pissed off at Alabama because the coach rant began the season about we took his kicker away from him. I mean, you look at all the bias.
You know what, Tommy? That is a brilliant point.
I'm a brilliant person that time.
He brought up the Miami of Ohio, and didn't the Miami of Ohio coach go on a rant?
Yes, begin the season. We stowed his
Tommy, I forgot about that.
That's why he got me. I need more pay.
You want an NIL?
I don't want. I want more than.
All right, you get the caller of the day. That is, but I mean, it is.
Go ahead.
But it just shows you connect the dots.
Well, yeah, you look at all the pedigree. They've all been tied to the ACC or the mid thing up in Ohio.
Because the Miami of Ohio coach went after Alabama for going to, it was, my heavens, you're not paid enough money.
I know. I need more than stomach lint and pocket lint. Maybe a Chick-fil-A.
Right. Tommy, I got to get to break, man, but I don't even know what to say. I think you just did like a mic drop. Tommy doesn't even have internet, and he just did a mic drop.
Well, you need to appreciate me more.
No, we appreciate you. That's brilliant. I'd forgot about that, and he's on the committee.
Yeah, man. All right. Have a good one. Talk to you later, Roll Tide.
Thank you. Tommy. Jackson, that was a brilliant point because the Miami head coach, don't you remember he went out and called? He said, well, they stole our kicker. They literally came and they stole our kicker. I mean, it was a Graham Nicholson, which was the Lou Groza Award. My heavens, man. Tommy, the victory lap. Homer Crimson. Good afternoon, Homer Crimson. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan.
I mean, I'm literally speechless with what Tommy just said. But he nailed it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until he said that. But
so he's an AD that's on the committee.
Yeah, he disqualified himself at the beginning of the year. I'm disappointed.
But that's the reason why you should not have current athletic directors on the committee. Tommy, what's my favorite radio station? Tide 100.9. Would I vote for any of the competition? No, I think they all suck.
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean, even though I don't believe that, I must say that. I mean, these guys are drawing a check. Anyway.
I've got 2 points I'd like to make, Ryan. By the way, long time no talk to you.
It has been. We've missed you, man. We've missed you.
Yeah, I know it's been, a real long time. I just don't have time to get on the phone that long. I got lucky today, and when you said you had a line, I said I'd give it a shot. So here I am. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and everything.
Thank you.
But there's 2 points I'd like to make. One, in a sense, I don't know that it's been mentioned, but we contributed to our own demise more than just losing that Oklahoma game or losing 3 games. We sort of set ourselves up for our own undoing. We contributed to our own demise. We stuck our foot in our mouths. We shot ourselves in the foot.
We did.
You know what I'm talking about? No guess?
I just thought she was talking about a couple of games of the season. Where did we shoot ourselves?
No, a few weeks ago, Ryan, if you'll recall, a good bit of the discussion on your show and around, I'm sure around all of Alabama fandom, was the idea that do we want to go play in the SEC championship or not? Because, we don't want to lose that game and get bumped out of the playoffs and whatnot. And our fans seem to be supporting the idea that you don't lose anything if you lose the conference championship game. And we kind of helped SMU in that regard, don't you think? Because they lost the championship game and everybody was arguing for weeks that shouldn't damage you, that shouldn't bump you out. You shouldn't lose anything by losing that game. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. But whether we talk about it or we don't talk about it, I'm not really sure that can make a.
Well, we just kind of made ourselves out to be hypocrites when we argue against that point now. Rather than talk about not being bumped out and losing something because you lose the conference championship game, the discussion would have more appropriately been that if a team goes to a championship conference championship game and they lose, they're not still automatically in the playoffs, but they need to be presented based on their strength of their overall work that they've done, their overall scheduled results.
But on the flip side of that, I'm countering your argument. I'm disagreeing it because you could also use it as motivation. Because you're dangling a carrot. You're saying, you know what? You win this game, you're playing for an SEC title. You could use it as motivation, too.
Oh, I agree with that. I'm not sure. Maybe you're missing my point,
okay,
or
maybe
you're missing yours. We talked about if the concern, I think in our case, in the case of Alabama, we were more concerned about, we were concerned about possibly being bumped out of the playoff because we would fall below the 12th place.
Okay, I see. Okay, yes, we did.
And then when SMU goes and plays, we're talking about if they lose the playoff, if they lose to Clemson, they should be out of the 12. If they beat Clemson, then Clemson's out of the 12. And so we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. We're hypocritical now to criticize what happened when we were saying that if that happened to us, it shouldn't, or we were concerned about it. But the discussion...
but we're not comparing the ACC to the SEC, are we?
No, but then again, you can't, you got to apply the rules to the same one. It's not a rule, I don't think, but I did hear one of those guys from the committee, I don't remember if you interviewed him or just played some of his remarks, where basically he said, no, if somebody loses in their conference game, championship game, we're not going to penalize them. And that's basically what saved SMU's butt. Now, what I would suggest and say where we went wrong, or anybody that would rather have a more appropriate outcome, is rather than say we're not going to penalize somebody for losing that game, which implies they're going to still be in the playoff. Rather than talk that way, we should say, if you lose that game, you better stand on your own body of work. In which case, Alabama would be in and SMU would be out.
Okay. Homer Crimson, let's debate this another day because I'm about like the last. And recharge R&R cigars. All right. Let's continue. We got a Jared in Houston, Texas. Jared, good afternoon. You're in the game.
What's happening, Ryan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just a little disappointed we didn't make the playoff. But at the end of the day, nobody to blame but ourselves.
No,
we got to take care of business on the football field. And, even though they used Alabama as a PR stunt in that 11th spot, I think, now looking back at to get ratings, like Martin said, it's crazy, man. But at the end of the day, we got to take care of business, beat Oklahoma, beat Vanderbilt. This discussion's not happening. So, however, the verbiage that was used on the selection show said that those teams that aren't playing, really can't move. So when they put them at 11 instead of 12, I figured that would be enough to get us in, based on the criteria that they kept Miami out of. Miami had a better resume than SMU. Miami actually played a tougher schedule than SMU did. And, if you're going to leave Miami out, you got to leave SMU out, in my opinion. I don't have much a problem with Arizona State being in, but Boise, SMU, and Indiana they don't play anybody. They all got beat by the top of their conference. I actually think Arizona State can compete. I think they got a good football team. I have zero issue with Arizona State being there because not only have they won games this year, they've covered the spread in games they played in this year. We have a little, football pick'em pool that we do at work every week, and I've been riding Arizona State all year, and they've got me 3 points every week. So I've got no problem with Arizona State. I actually think they can compete with Texas. Who's to say they can't beat them? Because Texas ain't shown they could beat anybody, right?
No, Texas is not the team that maybe we thought. But hey, Jared, I'm out of time, man. I'm literally right here to the end. I'm sorry. I'm just
roll Tide, brother. Have a good afternoon.
Roll Tide. 4 Heisman finalists that were just announced: Travis Fryer, Ashton Jeanty, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel. Those will be the 4 that will be in New York City. Let's go, Marty. Marty, 1 minute. Go. Joseph, 1 minute. Go.
Hey, Ryan Fowler, do you think Miro comes back or go? What's your opinion?
What do you want?
I'm asking you, what's your insiders and what have you heard?
I've heard all kind of stuff, but I'm not comfortable to say anything at this point because I just don't know, and I'm not going to speculate.
What's your gut feeling?
Well, I think he's probably going to wait for the NFL draft to evaluate.
If your gut feeling, what is it telling you right now? What is he going to do?
I think he goes to the NFL, but that's a gut feeling. You're asking me a gut feeling. That's a different question than your first question. A gut feeling. I think he goes to the NFL.
Second question: you think Keelan Russell starts his freshman season?
All right. No. I think he competes, and I think they'll give him a chance to compete. I don't think he can start year 1. I don't think. But hey, I hope he proves me wrong. Thanks, Joseph. Ellis, Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, let it rip.
We should have took care of business.
That's right.
We wouldn't be in this situation we're in, right?
Good point.
We didn't take care of business, and that's why we're where we're at right now.
Yeah, we made the bed. We got to sleep in it. But man, we didn't even touch half the show topics today. But
oh no. But
I got to run right here. I'm sorry.
All right, I understand. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Big thanks to Jackson Across the Glass. I will remind you about the Wharf if you're looking for a new pair of boots. Justin, Tony Lama, Red Wing, Georgia Double H, Timberline, Laredo, and many more. Wrangler, Levi Lee, Carhartt Clothing, Rocky Clothing, Under Armour Clothing is the Wharf. Open until 6 p.m. daily. How about Christmas gift ideas? You'll find it there. TheStandardBama.com, home of the 20-inch pizza pie, pepperoni, meat lovers, cheese. Design your own. TheStandardBama.com. Full-service restaurant available by DoorDash. TheStandardBama.com. Appreciate you guys, man. I had to get out of here. I know we had to jam in like 4 phone calls in 3.5 minutes. Apologize to Jared. I don't apologize to Joseph. He gets what he deserves. All right. Remind you that we call this program The Game. The only way you can win the big game, the game of life, is walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night, T-Town.